Well, great. Bonus / damage. And it's out on the plains too, so that's going to be nice and fast. Hello, YouTube. Herpderp here, and I'm here for the weekly randomizer. And let's just get right to it. No prelude. Okay, swap that into my actual Vaykor Marelok I've been using. And we've got... Whew! We got some questionable weapons here, but Nezha, for one thing, is not questionable. This Warframe, post his update, has been an absolute powerhouse. So, what is this that you're looking at here? What is this build designed to do? I'll tell you what it's designed to do. This is designed to grab the massive, incredibly huge warding halo. Now, we've got double augments here. The safeguard is the main gimmick of the build, where we're trying to essentially cast as large of warding halos onto our allies as possible. So how do we accomplish that? Well, warding halo, in terms of its potential HP, scales with both your power strength and your armor. So we're going with transient fortitude to increase the power strength here, and then for the armor we're going to go with a little bit of a gimmick. Then that would be health conversion. Now, Nezha only sits at 175 base armor, so getting a bit of extra armor off of steel fiber, steel fiber right here, is obviously viable. But as you can see, steel fiber only grants about 180 to 200 armor in that vicinity there. That's nothing crazy. Whereas health conversion grants up to 12, what is that? Is that 1350 bonus armor? If I can do math properly. Health conversion grants a ton of armor, almost something like 5 to 10 times as much armor as steel fiber grants, which means that because that's going to scale up our safeguard multiplicatively rather than additively, we're essentially multiplying the potential HP of our safeguard by a massive quantity. And what you end up getting out of this build is that you end up getting warding halos whose HP on yourself is going to be around 7,000 before incoming damage hits you. That's way more than the majority of Nezha builds previous to this were going to be able to accomplish, which if you're going to just use power strength, you're not going to see safeguards whose HP breaks more than, say, 3,000, but you can hit 7,000, 8,000 very easily and frequently. I'm sure we're going to see that in the upcoming sortie. Now, how do you get health conversion stacked up? Well, you need health orbs. How do you get health orbs? You get health orbs via Reaping Chakram. And Reaping Chakram is the augment for the Blazing Chakram, which now, post Nezha rework, is causing the enemies that it hits to drop health orbs and energy orbs, which means that this build doesn't have to have huge amounts of energy efficiency. That's why we've got Streamline here as our only efficiency mod. But primarily, we're concerned about the health orbs here. So the idea being that the warding halo no longer blocks all incoming damage. Instead, it only blocks 90% of incoming damage, something like that, and makes this completely status immune, which is fantastic. Still, it still keeps the Warframe from dying easily, but that does mean that we can take a little bit of health damage very easily. And that means that what you do is you're going to do your Nezha combos. You're going to pull the enemies onto the spears. You're going to throw the chakram at them and cause a whole bunch of chakrams to go all over the place, bouncing around, killing enemies. And then the enemies will drop health orbs for you. And when they do so, you can pick up those health orbs, stack up health conversion, and then when Safeguard drops, you can recast it at something like 7,000 HP, and you can also be casting the Warding Halo onto your allies if you have allies in the mission with you, which in this case we're not going to, but I'm not going to bother replacing this mod slot just because this Nezha build I am very proud of, and I'm going to leave it the way it is. For remaining mods here, we've got Prime Continuity just for the sake of getting a little bit more duration on the Divine Spears. Same with Stretch and Cunning Drift, just to make sure Divine Spears hits more enemies. That way the Chakram is able to clear a whole room. Again, these stats here are kind of fiddly. Those are all for making sure that when we cast Divine Spears, it covers a reasonable radius. I like 30 meters as a radius for any kind of crowd control ability. You can pick your own numbers on that. Same for the duration on this, 15 seconds. All of that's not going to really be what we're worried about here. Again, we're mostly worried about our power strength and our armor, which we're getting off of the Chakram Halo combo here. And of course, Of course, getting more duration is also going to help with Firewalker, keeping that on for longer, but Firewalker really isn't the focus of this build. If you really want to set up for a Firewalker build, you should really be scaling with narrow-minded to make sure that your Firewalker stays on for as long as physically possible. And you can be going with a large quantity of movement speed and a large quantity of power strength, and tons of duration is the most important thing though on any Firewalker build, just to make sure that once you cast the ability, it stays on, and once you put down the flames linger for a long time, and enemies have plenty of time to walk into those flames. Anyways, finally, as you can see here, because we're going to have a ton of survivability off of all our 90% damage reduction staying on forever, we're going to have Run with Vitality as our survivability mod, so that we can keep on healing off of the health orbs, and we can have a large maximum HP, and of course, corrosive protection, just to make sure that it's easier for those chakrams to actually kill enemies that have armor on them, like these Grenadier we're going to be fighting. Now, the Dera Vandal, I think, is a decent weapon. Not necessarily great, but, you know, more underrated than actually terrible. The Anku, on the other hand, I loathe this thing, so I guess we'll talk about that pretty fast. How is it on negative capacity? What did I do? Did I level up one of these priming mods? Since the last time I played this thing, which that would... When did I last level this suckers up to max? Was that like several months ago? Something like that. I don't know. I hate the Anku. It's got a reasonable crit chance. It's got a reasonable status chance. Don't get me wrong. It's just boring. It's a puncture-based scythe, which means that any status procs you're getting are probably going to be puncture procs, which aren't that interesting. You can go for crit chance. Its base attack speed is not terrible, but it's not good by any means compared to some other scythes that are out there. Like, I feel like if you want to set up, if you were going to look for a scythe that was going to have good hybrid stats, you could go with a mixed crit build, or even just one with a generic condition overload build. There's not really much of a reason to go for the Anku. There are plenty of scythes out there that deal slash damage. Yeah, the cost assist deals solely corrosive damage, which is really cute. The Ether Reaper deals primarily slash damage, which is excellent. The Hate, and this is still using my modded stats, which is kind of odd. The Hate deals almost entirely slash damage and has better crit stats than the Anku, and I really feel like that's the best comparison here. Is if you wanted to play with the Anku, you should be playing the Hate. And finally, the Reaper Prime also has good stats and also has more slash damage. And in all these cases, you're not having to deal with... You're getting stats that are essentially equivalent to the weapon that you're looking at here with the Anku, but you're getting slash procs out of it instead of puncture procs. So, I don't understand why you would play this weapon specifically. But, I mean, you know, it's going to be fine. I also just don't particularly like scythe stances. They feel repetitive, where you're just kind of hacking and slashing at enemies. And while there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, it does also mean that the scythes, that they don't have a lot of movement to the combos in them. They don't have a lot of attack range built in, and I do feel like scythes are going to be a lot better when they get grouped in with heavy weapons and have all those stances mushed together, because that's something that I've heard is going to actually be happening in Melee 3.0 later this year. I just don't use scythes that very much. They just don't appeal to me. Like I said, like I was showing you there are some scythes that have reasonable stats. In particular, like I said, the Hate's really good. The cost assist has that built-in corrosive stuff, so conditional overload becomes disgusting on it. If you go for specifically, it has the built-in charge attack, throwing out goop all over the place. The cost assist is weird. I really don't like that weapon that much either, but I mean, I can't deny that it's good. Anyways, here's my Dera Vandal. It's very generic. The things you'll notice about the Dera Vandal are that it's got very low crit chance, it's got low base damage per shot, and that automatically means that it's going to be not a weapon that people consider to be top tier, because it's going to be just dealing base DPS. And that is kind of sitting with the Carrack and the Bolter and a couple of other older weapons in that scheme. Although the Bolters have gotten upgrades to where you can build them for crit, and then they become pretty good in that scenario. Now, this obviously hasn't been formatted. If it was to get formatted up, and it would take 1, 2, probably 3 or 4 to get it there, What you definitely want to have on here would be prime shreds, so that you can have some increased fire rate, either that or another fire rate mod like speed trigger, say. But I would probably go for the prime shred just because of the punch through also being useful since we have an automatic weapon here. And for the final slot, we want to grab something else to heavily increase the damage. I would go for something like prime cryo rounds or vigilante armaments, more likely, just because I would want to keep the damage more evenly split here between corrosive and blast. And again, the reason why we're going corrosive blast here is that this weapon suffers from the same issue as the other weapon, namely that it has puncture damage as its primary damage type, as opposed to slash, which has more useful base procs. Because when puncture impact is your base damage type, your best bet is usually to go with corrosive alongside it, just because those damage types struggle somewhat against armor. Impact especially struggles a lot against armor, so you definitely want to grab corrosive there. Slash, on the other hand, slash procs are very good against both armor and shields, so you can grab viral and make sure that the enemy's health is reduced by half, so that slash procs kill them faster. That's always a good idea. Anyways, that's just basic stuff that you've probably heard of if you play much Warframe. Like I said, you definitely want to go for prime shred here though, and like I said, you want to go for another mod then that would increase the raw DPS this can put out. Heavy caliber is also a potential. The only reason why I didn't bring it up is because one of the benefits of the Dera Vandal, one of the only reasons to play this weapon is that it's got no recoil and 100% accuracy, so your shots are always going to land directly on crosshairs. That means that this weapon performs very, very well at mid-range, and it may even be able to function as a semi-sniper rifle when it comes to things on the plains. I've had experiences with weapons like that before. I actually want to quick show off something here, which is the Prisma Grakata. Not everybody realizes how incredibly accurate this weapon is, but if you ever come across a Riven that gives minus recoil, as you can see this one here's minus weapon recoil, the Grakata actually becomes almost a sniper weapon in and of itself. Where because the weapon is it's not 100% accurate like the Dera, but it's highly accurate. And most of the inaccuracy that people associate with the Grakata actually comes from the high recoil this weapon has that jitters and jumps the crosshairs all over the place. And if you can ever remove that, that makes the weapon highly, insanely accurate, and you'll be able to get tons of headshots at mid to long range. Anyways, and there's plenty of other weapons where that applies too. You know, everything from your Vipers and your Furus pistols to a lot of other fully automatic weapons like the Soma and whatnot. There's the Zenith is another great example of that sort of thing. You know, your bolters even will become, well, bolters is questionable just because they have weapon drop off, but you get what I'm saying here, right? There are tons of full auto weapons that become super accurate if you can actually remove all the recoil. And the Dera is a great example of what you're aiming for with that, which is that the weapon doesn't have any recoil, being a Corpus Energy weapon, and a kind of piddly Corpus Energy weapon at that. Like I said though, the big issue with the Dera Vandal is primarily just that the crit chance is a little too low to be able to viably build crit stats on. That means that because the weapon's base damage is also pretty low, as you can see here, it's only sitting at about 30 base damage. That's nothing. So you're not going to get much damage out of that weapon in the long run. Now, the Vaykor Marelok, I think, is probably what I'm going to be relying on for the majority of this mission. And unfortunately, the enemies in the mission do have some slash resistance, and I've kind of built this for a semi-slash build here. The Vaykor Marelok is primarily impact-based, so I'd probably be getting more raw damage if I was to go for something other than that slash mod there, right? Like, I could be going for, say, primed heated charge at that point. That's way more raw damage. The reason why I had that in there is because I was interested in abusing this weapon's 100% status chance and making sure that I get as many slash procs out of it as possible. That said, now I'm looking at this build, is 700 slash damage really worth losing a potential 2,800 heat damage? I don't think that is. So I'm going to go with this prime heated charge just for the fun of it. Other thing that you could go there would be something like Auger Packs. That will also give you a lot of raw damage. As you'll see here, that's probably better if you're trying to get through Armor Shred there, just because that's giving you the corrosive damage there. Like I said, though, the Vaykor Marelok is a bit of an odd duck of a weapon. You'll see a lot of people build this thing for crit. because of the 20% crit chance that's on it. But actually, the weapon's only sitting at 1.5 times multiplier, which means that effectively the stats here are essentially the same as a weapon that has 10% crit chance and a 2 times multiplier. You're just seeing yellow numbers pop up more often, but they're only increasing your DPS by a negligible number. So it's really unimportant there. What is important here is that the Vaykor Marelok sits around with massive quantities of base damage. As you can see here, unlike the Dera Vandal there, which is only sitting at 30 damage a shot. No, I did not want to hit that button. I want to hit this button. The Vaykor Marelok actually is sitting at closer to 150, 160, something like that damage per shot. What is that? Some multiplier of 12, so that'd be... Well, point being, it's a very large number. And it's one of the reasons why pistols can be kind of disgusting too, is because a lot of them have very high raw damage per shot, and then you can have the double multi-shot mods on top of that, increasing their damage output by an incredible numbers. And it's also very important to note the difference between pistol mods and primary mods as well, that pistol mods give more multi-shot and more damage than primary mods do. So anyways, we've got here a ribbon as well on this. I've got sitting on here damage and electricity as the primary important stats, electricity being there primarily to increase the corrosive percentage on this, and then raw damage just because raw damage is one of the best things you can get on a ribbon that's got a 1-star disposition. Also some punch through, also minus flight speed because it's a hit scan weapon anyway. This ribbon I'm pretty satisfied with. It's obviously not anything that's going to change the way the weapon plays, but it's all stats that are useful here. Finally, we've got Carrier. I hopefully have shown off Carrier before, but it could be useful on the Plains of Eidolon just because, I mean, the ammo is at a premium on the Plains of Eidolon, and the Dera does tend to spam. Obviously, I'm going to call out the important mods here being Sacrifice, Vacuum, Animal Instinct, Midi-Ray, and in this case, Looter is also the main reason why I do enjoy Carrier. The buffed up version of Looter, I think people undervalue in terms of how much it allows you to passively pick up junk off of the map. Between Vacuum, the Carrier's base ammo case, which lets you convert ammo pickups, and then Looter automatically open cases for you and pick up ammo for you. The Carrier makes it very easy to keep your ammo up on any weapon. It's maybe not better than an ammo mutation, but it's almost as good as an ammo mutation, which is very important considering that ammo mutations take up a mod slot, something like this one right here. Anyways, going with Senioric, that should be fine for the energy region. I find that this Nezha build does need it a little bit. It's more that just because it's more that there's not really a better thing to take on this Nezha build, just because you're not really taking damage in large quantities. Maybe just Fazarin to be able to revive allies could be good. Anyways, we're gonna hop out onto the plains here. We're gonna pray to God that all of these physical damage weapons aren't just completely resisted by the damage resistance. Also, you gotta love this patch here on Warframe, how ships load in with only a fraction of their cosmetics initially. That's pretty funny. There it finally goes. Right. Oh, it's nighttime too. Great. So magnetic stuff. Not that that matters because we're going to start off by putting one of those on. And as you can see here, it's going to be, because of the transient fortitude, we're going to get, yeah, no status procs for me. We're going to get a reasonable amount of base armor off that via the base halo, but it's not going to be anything incredible. 2,000 armor isn't anything crazy, but the 7,000 to 8,000 armor we get once we actually have orbs is what makes this build incredibly good. Alright, let's just come up some of those guys. Oh yeah, this is gonna be okay. Alright, where is he? Where is he? I might just test the Dera on him for a little bit, just to show that weapon off. As you can see, the Dera's damage is nothing incredible, but it's respectable. It's respectable for itself. Oh, is this technically a ghoul bounty even, since the ghouls are out right now? Wow. High status chance there is nothing to be ashamed of. Alrighty. Carrier, as you can see there, also is helping out by eating a few health orbs there, which is letting me stack up health conversion faster. And like I said, I think I'm gonna now that I've shown that off, I'm just going to run the rest of the mission. Oh god. Perfect. Perfect. I'm just going to run the rest of the mission with Marelok primarily. Cares. Neat. Taking so much damage already, but it's okay because we've got the prime region on there to help him stay alive for as long as possible. Another thing people don't necessarily realize about Nezha is that the chakram gives a vulnerability multiplier to all damage hitting that enemy, which is not necessarily on the scale of Banshee's sonar, but it's still pretty good. As you can see, by the way, that is a rather large amount of shielding that we're getting now on that blazing, whatever it's called now. What is it? Blazing disc? Oh, I forget. The ring of fire around Nezha, the 5,035 health. I think that gives him damage reduction. Dang it, I can't remember the name of the abilities. Don't ask me to think. It's the reason why you play Nezha. It's Nezha thing. You know. I see here too, we got those 3 orbs going around us. The health conversion has been updated, by the way, to where it only loses charges when you take damage to your health. It used to be that it would lose charges when you took damage, period, which is why Necros as well, I think the only frames that can spam out enough health orbs to keep it fully stacked. But now, Nezha can easily, with his damage reduction, he can easily keep that 150 shielding on for long enough to put out a few health orbs. Get off my drone. Jeez, my drone is special. My drone is special, and it's a special snowflake. Somebody over here being a dumb jerk. Oh, they're shooting at the Eidolon. Okay, I don't need to worry about that. They're shooting at the Eidolon. I was worried that they were shooting at my drone from up there, but they're actually not. Because the Eidolon is being a distraction. Oh boy. Bunch of groups of enemies, if I could have it not hit the tree. As you'll see here too, the health orbs drop off of the debuff. It doesn't really matter whether the chakram kills them or not. What matters is whether the enemies are debuffed by the chakram's flames when they are killed. And that determines whether they'll actually drop the health orb on death. And there we go. I will begin decoding its systems immediately. Also, I don't know if I explained that perfectly, but the reason why you put the enemies onto the spears before you throw the orb is because when an enemy is on a spear and then the chakram hits them, it spawns a second chakram, which is fantastic. You can have 3 or 4 of those things flying around, murdering dudes. Hello. I haven't really been using the chakram for mobility, but it totally could have been. As you can see, they lost a stack on the bonus armor because it took a little bit of health damage, but that's not massive. They are taking 0 damage.
The Grineer have left resource caches for emerging ghouls.
But that's okay.
Empty them and leave nothing for these beasts.
Gotta find resource caches. That shouldn't be too big of a deal. There's one over there, I see. Okay.
Cache found.
Let's just go ahead and run around the perimeter in a clockwise fashion then. Hello. One of those suckers as fast as we can. I still need to get that amp maxed out. That's it's one of those cases where I built a new amp and then I didn't really finish leveling it because of there's another one. Because of the Fortuna coming out, and I kind of stopped grinding Eidolons and started grinding onto Orb Mothers. So you know how it is. He's not dying, is he? There we go. Cast this down. He's got plenty of time to get this stuff. I'm gonna ignore that. Am I gonna ignore that Eidolon thing I dropped? No, I'm not. I'm greedy. I'll make you guys watch me dash across the plains to pick that up. Oh, she dropped down right as I was throwing it. I missed my skill shot. Alrighty. Normally you don't even want to treat that as a skill shot, honestly. Normally you just want to go up to point blank and make absolutely sure. Oh, wow. Where is he hitting me from? Stab it. Now, I'm going to try flying way up. See if that helps me see where this thing is. There it is. Perfect! Pretty easy objective-based gameplay there out on the plains. As you can see, that wasn't really any... There wasn't really any pitched combat there. I didn't really show off the Anku either because I loathe that weapon, but not really any pitched combat, but we're able to at least test Nezha's survivability there. Obviously, Nezha is incredibly survivable nowadays, between tons of healing off of the health orbs, tons of HP now that he's been given a health total that's actually, you know, reasonable, 125 as opposed to the old 85 or whatever it was, and the giant pile of damage reduction here. I forget the exact amount of damage reduction because it doesn't show it as a tooltip, but I think it's 90% or 95% reduced damage that you take when you have that on, which means that you don't die. Anyways, that's going to be a good Randomizer Monday. Talk to y'all later. Herp Derp out.